There is something strange you begin noticing once you spend enough time around intelligent professionals. Many of the smartest people you will ever meet work incredibly hard, think deeply, and possess enormous amounts of knowledge. Their expertise is real. Their competence is undeniable. Yet despite all that intelligence, many of them never experience the kind of leverage people assume knowledge should create. They learn more, they improve more, and they take on more responsibility. But the structure of their lives often stays the same. And that raises an uncomfortable question. If knowledge is so powerful, why do so many intelligent people still feel financially limited? In this video, we are going to look at something most professionals never stop to examine. First, the quiet mistake many intelligent people make without realizing it. Second, why knowledge alone rarely creates leverage. And third, what begins to change when knowledge becomes organized into solutions. But before we go there, you need to see something clearly. Look at almost any professional environment. Doctors, engineers, consultants, analysts, researchers, professors. These are individuals who spent years mastering difficult subjects. They studied, they trained, and they built real expertise. Their knowledge is not the issue. Yet many of them operate inside structures that depend entirely on their time. The moment they stop working, the income stops moving. The problem is not intelligence. The real problem is how knowledge gets used. For years, intelligent professionals are taught a simple formula: learn more, improve your skills, and increase your expertise. That advice feels logical because knowledge improves competence, and competence often leads to opportunity. So the pattern continues year after year. Another degree, another certification, another training program, another layer of expertise. Each step feels productive because learning always feels like progress. But something subtle happens when learning becomes the only strategy. Knowledge keeps accumulating, while the structure through which that knowledge produces value stays exactly the same. When the structure stays the same, the outcome usually stays the same. This is the mistake many intelligent professionals make. They assume knowledge alone will eventually create leverage. But knowledge alone rarely creates leverage. Knowledge creates potential. Leverage appears only when knowledge becomes organized into something that can move beyond the limits of one person's effort. Once you begin seeing this pattern, it becomes impossible to ignore. Two individuals can possess the same intelligence and even similar expertise. One spends years collecting more information and improving personal skill. The other begins organizing what they already know into solutions that others can apply. The first path produces mastery. The second path produces leverage. The difference is structure. Structure determines whether knowledge stays inside a person's head or begins traveling through the world. When knowledge remains internal, it behaves like a skill. Skills are powerful, but they require effort every single time they are used. A skill solves a problem in the moment, but the moment ends and the process begins again. But when knowledge becomes structured into a clear solution, the dynamic changes completely. A solution does not need to be reinvented each time it is used. The same idea can guide decisions repeatedly, and the same framework can help many people solve the same problem. The knowledge begins working beyond the moment it was originally discovered. That is where leverage begins. Markets do not reward intelligence simply because it exists. Markets reward solutions that help people reach outcomes they care about. When a solution is clear, people recognize its value quickly because it removes confusion and saves time. Across many industries, experienced professionals already possess insights capable of forming powerful solutions. Years of experience reveal patterns that others have not yet seen. Repeated challenges uncover principles that guide better decisions, but those insights often remain trapped inside conversations rather than inside organized systems that others can apply. When insights remain internal, they benefit only the people who encounter them directly. When insights become structured into frameworks, systems, or methods, their impact expands dramatically. This is the shift many intelligent professionals eventually discover. The value they spent years developing does not lie only in performing work well. The value lies in organizing what they know so others can benefit from it repeatedly. That shift changes how people see their own expertise. Instead of constantly asking what else they need to learn, they begin asking different questions. What problems have I solved repeatedly? What patterns have I noticed that others struggle to see? How could those patterns be organized into something others could follow? Those questions move attention away from collecting information and toward structuring knowledge. Information creates understanding, but structured knowledge creates guidance. Guidance is what people search for when they feel uncertain. In a world overflowing with information, clarity becomes incredibly valuable. People are not simply searching for more information. They are searching for direction. That is why structured solutions consistently outperform raw intelligence in the marketplace. Intelligence helps someone understand complexity, but structure allows others to move through that complexity. Once knowledge becomes organized into solutions, it begins behaving differently. The same insight that once helped one person can begin helping hundreds. A method that once guided a single decision can guide thousands. The knowledge stops being limited by the effort of the person who discovered it. It becomes something that travels, and when ideas begin traveling, their influence expands far beyond the moment they were created. This is the point where many intelligent professionals realize something surprising. The knowledge they spent years acquiring already contained enormous potential. What was missing was not more information. What was missing was structure. Structure turns scattered insights into coherent solutions. Solutions help people solve real problems, and solving real problems is what creates value. Once knowledge begins solving problems repeatedly, it stops being limited by effort and begins creating leverage. That is the moment when knowledge finally begins working beyond the person who discovered it. And that is the difference between simply knowing more and finally building something that creates real leverage. Something else begins happening when people make this shift. At first, it feels unusual because the habit of collecting knowledge is deeply ingrained. Intelligent professionals are used to measuring progress by what they learn next. Another concept understood, another model mastered, another idea added to the mental library. But when someone begins organizing knowledge into solutions, the focus changes completely. Instead of asking what new information they should collect, they begin asking how the knowledge they already possess can remove obstacles for other people. That question changes everything. Because once knowledge starts removing obstacles, people immediately recognize its value. They are no longer looking at information. They are experiencing progress. Confusion disappears. Decisions become easier. Problems that once felt complicated begin to look manageable. And when that happens repeatedly, the solution begins building trust. Trust grows because people see results. Results create demand. Demand is what turns knowledge into something that produces leverage. This is why the real shift is not intelligence versus lack of intelligence. The real shift is whether knowledge stays inside someone's head or becomes organized into something others can apply. Once knowledge becomes structured into solutions, it begins moving through the world in ways that information alone never could. And that is when people begin realizing that the value they spent years building was never limited to their personal effort. It was waiting to be organized.